As I told you before we went to the break, Ed Garsten, I'm so glad he's back, as a matter of fact. He's a Metro Detroit based reporter. He's been doing, he's been in the action for quite some time, along with covering stand up strikes against Detroit's three automakers by the UAW. He's actually looked at urban air mobility and the rise of autonomous trucking. He is one of the first people we onboarded when we started this platform back in June. I gave you his bona fides in the last half hour. So, what do you say we dive on in and just say good morning to Ed Garsten? How are you, my friend?
Good, Jimmy. How are you? Great to be back with you.
It's great to have you, by the way. And I'm really excited, too, because the newfangled technologies and the Nito Mosquito stuff are very much on your mind these days. You've got a piece coming out on Sunday. You got to take a tour, and I want you to kind of unpack that for our listeners, because this is groovy stuff.
Yeah, I took a tour of Ford's New World headquarters. Actually, it opened officially on Sunday, and they let the media have a little advance tour a couple of days beforehand. And I've got to tell you, night and day, the place they've had for the last 70 years, known as the Glass House, this big green thing, was basically a cubicle farm, 11 floors of cubicles, and a little bit of space and a nice cafeteria. But this thing, holy crap, it's huge. It's like 2.1 million square feet, where they've got design studios, and they design the cars there, they test the cars there, they have their executives there, they've got about 1 million places to get coffee and to eat. They've got a chef that, because of the different cultures of people that work there, every type of food you could imagine for different cultures, lounges, places just to collaborate with people. And I didn't see one cubicle in the whole place. So it's a breath of fresh air for them. And most importantly, Ford's campus was sort of far-flung around the city of Dearborn, which, if you're not familiar with it, is directly adjacent to Detroit. But that's where Ford's been forever. And not everything could be in the old headquarters, so people have to actually get in their cars and drive to go to meetings or to check out new vehicles being developed and designed and tested. And now they've got most everything in one building, and if they do need to go somewhere else, it's only about a 5-minute walk between buildings. So this whole thing they're calling the hub beside the world headquarters is designed to help Ford be more efficient, more creative, more collaborative, improve their quality, which they really do need to do. They've had so many recalls. So hopefully this bodes a good, profitable, quality new future for Ford Motor Company, an iconic company, of course, in the U.S. And I hope for the best. Everybody sure looked real happy to be there, and it was a truly, truly wondrous new facility, and I think they're going to do really well there.
I want to get to some stuff, though, some other articles you've written here, but I was really excited about this because there's a really kind of cool thing, and it's both a micro and a macro that's at play here. And you use the word hub, they're calling it a hub.
Yeah.
It really is, and that food kind of gives away the game here, too. It's an international hub. I mean, people always, we think about stuff like Ford, we think about stuff even like Amazon or, Walmart as these sort of American companies, and they are, of course, but they're also international companies that have partners that span the entire breadth of the globe. And if you can't bring people into a space where you are proud to welcome them as the center of your universe, then it really is, it's one less thing in your arsenal you have to win over clients, to reassure partners. And the other thing I kept thinking about, like I said, on the very personal level, we just moved to these studios in New Orleans. I'll tell you, I have not had so much fun as I've had over the last 6 months being able to come into a studio with new equipment in an older building, but it just makes you feel like $1 million. It's a big morale boost. Yeah. I was curious. It sounds an awful lot like there's a lot of things that have gone wrong on college campuses over the last couple of decades in regards to how things are structured. But the one thing colleges get right, man, even down to the sometimes community colleges, they're just great to walk across. They just are inviting places. And there's a reason why our friends in Silicon Valley call their business centers campuses. Does it have that feel? Does it have the feel of like, going back to someplace? Does it make you feel young all over again? I know I'm sounding kind of existential here, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a sense of like, I'm someplace that feels like a community rather than just, you use the word cubicle. Is that kind of what Ford is trying to engender here?
You've got it, Jimmy. What I failed to mention was, and you have to see this, within this huge, sprawling building, there's at least half a dozen courtyards, and they want people. They want people to go outside and talk outside and get some fresh air in their lungs and in their brains and to stimulate creativity and collaboration. These are beautiful, and each courtyard actually is reflective of each of the Great Lakes, since we're surrounded by the Great Lakes. And then there's this big park with trails and stuff, and it's more than a campus. I mean, it looks like a little state park. And then you can go through the park and get to some of the other buildings, and it's actually right across the street from one of the best tourist attractions in the United States, the Henry Ford Museum, and the Automotive Hall of Fame, which are right across the street from this new headquarters. So it's a campus. It's collaborative. And like I said, it's wide open. It's just so wide open, and they just want people to get together and feel like a team, that everybody is included. And that's another important aspect of this headquarters, is that you are part of the overall effort of this company. It's a funny thing it's funny that it never came up, and no one even talked about where the CEO is going to work in this building, because everyone just assumed he's going to be around. If you know anything about Jim Farley, the Ford CEO, he is a guy that doesn't sit behind a desk. He's a very active guy. He's a race car driver in his spare time. So you just know that there's going to be people circulating, and they want to know. They want to know what you think and what your ideas are. So I just think that the open space is sort of synonymous with an open mind, and I hope it works that way and that the products eventually reflect that feeling.
It's interesting, too, because, we have a very active chat here on the show while we're doing it live, and one of our regular listeners, Trucker Boson, wrote, I just got a recall letter from Ford for the emission systems on my 2014 Fusion. And I don't think he was saying that as a way of kind of putting the poo-poo on what we're talking about, because what we're talking about is they seem to understand the holistic approach is that, everybody back to work and the beatings will continue until the morale improves. They might have looked around and said, well, what do you think is going to happen when you stick a lot of people into boxes, nobody talks to anybody, and the whole world is crumbling around you? You're going to get recalls. And this, in many ways, is a forward-facing way to let both their investors and the people who get their products know, hey, guys, we are really trying to improve the work atmosphere, which will prevent the recalls in the future. That's really, and I love the idea of we're going to go meet in the quad. I mean, it sounds so college, doesn't it? Hey, you know what? Rather than talk about this at a desk, let's go meet in the quad and get together with those other guys. You know what I'm saying? There's a real college atmosphere feel to this, right?
And this thing is so ingeniously designed. One of the women who is a chief sort of designer related to the building, including artwork and materials and stuff. But if you look at the pictures of it and you see how the stairways, the open stairways, crisscross, those crisscrossing points, they call them nudge points, and they said they do that on purpose because they want people to run into each other, to cross paths. So you may run into someone that you didn't even know, or someone you hadn't seen in a long time, and go, hey, I was just thinking this and this and that, and it sparks another conversation. So it's really one of the most ingenious places I've ever seen, and that's coming from someone. I worked at the Chrysler Technical Center for 11 years, which is also an amazing, amazing, wondrous place to work, and this place just takes it to another step.
Yeah, I just was, I got a chance to see, when I saw what you'd be talking about. I'm really excited about this, and I'm excited about this because if for once again a bigger macro reason, there are a lot of places already. Our friends out in Silicon Valley, the folks at Facebook and the folks at there are places Google that do this kind of stuff. But if this works for the old economy models, for the older, I want to say old economy, but if it works, it's the kind of thing that catches on. It's the kind of thing, because so much of this also, what I love about the building, you've mentioned it, the nudge points, is that it's dependent on, it says get moving. It says do not be trapped behind your desk. Get up on your feet and get walking and start hustling around. I mean, it's almost a refutation not just to that old kind of style of the man in the gray flannel suit. It's a refutation to I'm going to work from home. I'm going to be by myself. Leave me alone in my cubicle while my eyeballs slowly dry out from looking at the screen too long. Right. It really is pushing towards that. It's pushing towards kind of what I call the pad. It wants people on pads, going from place to place, comparing notes, and doing all that kind of groovy stuff. I could talk all morning about this. I do want to make sure we cover some other stories too that are kind of really important. Sure. Can we talk a little bit about the Mazda story? Look, they've already had a lot of this stuff already, but they're making some of the ADAS features standard, right? Well, you want to unpack that a bit for us?
Yeah, I talked to the head of safety at Mazda a few weeks ago, and she's only been there not even quite a year, but pretty dynamic person. And yeah, she said that they're going to be like 4 at least basic ADAS systems that you are not going to have to pay extra for. They're going to be standard no matter where you are in the product line, from their most entry-level vehicle to all the way up to their highest level. And then they're going to bring out this CX-5 early next year, where they're going to have some other things. They weren't ready to announce them quite yet. Other safety systems, advanced safety systems, that are also going to be standard. And this is really important for a couple of reasons. One is because some people are thinking that, I just paid for a bunch of technology that I don't even want and I don't use. And there have been studies that people are actually turning off some of this safety stuff because they're tired of the warning buzzes, like lane departure. You start to drift from your lane and it starts beeping. And I know it doesn't in my car. It drives me crazy, but I don't shut it off because it's trying to save my life. So what's wrong with that? Right? But they feel that safety is number one. It should be standard. People shouldn't think that it's an add-on. It's not an add-on. It's now, in this day and age of the technology, the rolling computers that vehicles are, that it's an inherent part of your vehicle, as important as your brakes, as your headlights, as any other sort of your seat belts, any sort of safety device that's in your car. Don't take it for granted. These things will save your lives and the lives of your passengers. And if it's standard, then you don't say, well, I paid extra for it and I don't want it. You'll say, no, this is part of the car, like a steering wheel. I'm going to use it and take advantage of this. So I think it's very, very admirable of them. And, I mean, there will be eventually some other premium things that you can pay for extra. But at this point, things like automatic emergency braking, rear cross paths, so if you're backing up and somebody's behind you, you're going to get a warning and it'll stop the car, blind spot detection, lane departure. Those are basic things. And they're all there just to keep everybody safe. And if the warnings bother you, every time you hear the warning, you should say, it's not bothering me, it just saved me. And you'll be in a better state of mind. But it's really, I think, a terrific policy by Mazda.
Yeah, and the other thing is, too, guys, if you want more information, you go to the Forbes.com website, where Ed actually has a number of articles over there. This is the one we're talking about. There is a video of a 40-mile-an-hour crash test conducted by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. Got a chance to look at that. The other thing is, too, remember, a lot of this stuff, especially, look, we're talking to truckers, of course, here, but people always forget, especially especially in the sphere of trucking, and we'll get to that in a second. This is all moving towards ways of kind of having a little bit of pushback against your insurance agent. I don't mean that like get in a fight with them,
Yeah.
but the more of this stuff you can onboard and actually get used to and acclimate to and take the time to study, the lower your insurance premiums get. I mean, this is why this is a lot of this stuff is not just, it's primarily, as you said, they're trying to make safety number one because they're going to be more and more people on the move. There won't be less cars tomorrow than there were today. This stuff is really important to our friends, too, because a lot of those folks out there that they drive around don't always pay attention in the way they should. And having somebody give them a little nudge is going to make our friends out there a whole lot safer. These people most of these people who are getting these features don't drive for a living and therefore don't have the situational awareness. They're too focused on what's next and not what's happening. So it really makes a big beneficiary for our friends on the road as well, too.
It really does. And people are so, they're distracted. Distracted driving is such a huge factor in collisions with injuries, fatalities. People are messing with their phones. They're doing this, they're doing that. They're not paying attention. Plus, now you have vehicles with partial automation, like GM's GM system and Ford's Blue Cruise, where you can take your hands off the wheel, and people think that they cannot pay attention to the road, but they do have to pay attention to the road. And you're right about insurance, because I hope people realize that your car has these little black boxes, and your driving habits are being monitored. And insurance companies, you can opt in. I think Progressive has a black box opt-in and some other ones. But if you allow the insurance company to monitor your driving habits and you've been a good boy or girl behind the wheel, then your premiums will go down.
Yeah.
Because they can prove it. They've got the data coming directly from your car. So this stuff isn't just for fun and games. It's not a gimmick. It's for safety, and like you said, Jimmy, it's to save some money.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, too, guys, talk about major corporations. Of course, they care about, some of them care about human life, but there is a thing, too, is that it means less recalls, it means less lawsuits, and it means, by the way, less recalls and less lawsuits mean less expensive cars on the lots.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a massive impact on that as well. We got a little bit of time. I do want to talk about speaking of Ford, let's talk about the deal with the power companies. Another groovy kind of thing going on here about the F-150 Lightning.
Yeah, and it's there's a counterpoint to that, which I'll throw in here at the end after we tell you about it. Yeah, I was out at one of their engineers' houses here in suburban Detroit where they did a demo. They've got this concept called Ford Home Power Management. And what you can do is you have to get the this Ford Charging Station Pro. It's a two-way deal, and then you run some cable to a power inverter on the side of your house, and it has to be worked out with the utility. The utility has to opt into this, but you can put power. You can power your house through your F-150 F-150 Lightning electric pickup truck, and the deal is that the power company charges higher rates during peak hours, in the evening especially, and so you could actually convert. You could power your house from your truck during those peak hours and not be on the grid and paying the high power rates, and then past the peak time, you can go back to being on the grid and paying the lower rates, and also recharge your vehicle from your home charger during the off premium times, peak time, and save yourself some money. And they're figuring that over the course of a year, you can save about $500 on your power bill.
Yeah, because you're drawing power. You're drawing power when it's cheap, and you're actually substituting power when it's expensive. And that's, like I said. The other thing is too is that we were laughing about it because my wife and I, when we have a home in New Orleans, we currently our residence is in California. Although I'm in New Orleans right now, one of the things we laugh about is when we're in California, it's like time to go for a walk. Why? Because we don't want to run any power in the house at this particular moment.
Right.
But you can actually
Yeah.
now set this up in a way that you are literally charging your house at one point, and then using the charger to then power your house when it's more expensive to run off that particular grid. How's that deal being worked out? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there in order to kind of make this happen, right? I mean, how do they?
Yeah, well,
It's an
they
individual
have to
and a
work it out.
community thing too, right?
Yeah, you have to work it out. Your utility company has to opt into this and agree to it. And from what Ford said, there's about 9 states worth. They enumerate every utility that's doing it. Here in Detroit, it's Detroit Power, but about 9 states. It's slowly happening. And the other part of this is that they'll actually pay you to return power to the grid at certain points.
Oh yeah.
And think about this: if you and your neighbors had a bunch of F-150 Lightnings and you were returning power to the grid, they'll actually pay you for the power that you're returning to the grid. But the counterpoint that I was going to say is this all happens about 2 weeks after we filed the story. Ford said, you know what? We're not really selling a lot of these Lightnings. We may stop making them. So,
Is this the last gasp? It's like, hey, before we run out of these, before we stop making these guys, maybe you might want to buy them to charge your house with. It's just
we seem to have a few on the lot. Why don't you get them off our hands? So, sometimes you can't win.
The Ford Lightning House Charger is what they should call it. Move them off the lot. But in what you're talking about here, though, you got to go back to an earlier point you made before that wonderful point, is that this in many ways resembles a lot of what solar panels do for people in particular areas. Like there are areas in New Orleans East where we installed solar panels, Ed, where we did the installation. There are folks now who don't pay. They literally get paid by the power company on a regular basis for essentially putting power back into the grid. These are people who don't pay a nickel to run. They run AC in the summer and get bills that are in the negative. It's just a remarkable thing if you can plan this. But you need to get that Lightning right now, or it's all going to be over.
Way to stop making them.
I wanted to ask you a process question because I know the story about the Ford campus Ford the World of Nudge is coming out this Sunday. In regards to putting something like that together, how long does that take you in regards to kind of, making sure that you've crossed the T's and dotted the I's? But in the case of writing like that, that's less of just a procedural sort of, what I would call popular mechanics look, and that is more of a human factor that kind of goes into that. When do you know you have something like that right? I mean, you have a deadline. That's when you know. But when do you know you got it right and ready to go?
Well, I've been doing this for, 52, 53 years.
A little bit.
And you kind of get into a zen, basically. We were on the tour for about, 2 hours, and gathered all the information. I took tons and tons of pictures and video. Then they also sent some to me that Ford took. And I would say a story like this with so many elements, and plus with Forbes, it's a web-only story, so they don't want it to be too terribly long. Not really much, somewhere between 750 and 1,000 words, which is shorter than a lot of newspaper stories. So I had to condense all this stuff down and get a lot in. There's a lot that's not in the story, but I had to just pick out what I thought were the most salient points and would give people the best idea of what's going on here. But the actual writing part of it will take me, 2 hours, and then I'll go back and sleep on it and go back and look at it again. This is very unusual. We had the tour on a Thursday, and the story was embargoed actually till 6 a.m. on Sunday. So I had a few days to work on it. On a normal story, I might do a series of interviews and turn that story around in 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, and
bang it out.
yeah, people don't realize. One of my other favorite things when I used to work for the Times-Picayune over here and would write reviews, I would actually had to work it out in my contract to have my own blog at the time. They said if you would like to read a more in-depth review, please go to blanketyblank.com because man, there are times when it kills you, man. It is a process of murdering your children every morning. That's what writing is. Ed, we are out of time, my brother. Anything else you want to kind of throw in there before you shuffle off this radio coil? Any place you want to send people to kind of check out the action?
Well, we just filed I just posted this morning a new episode of Tales from the Beat with this PR pro she's been doing it for about as long as I've been doing news. Her name is Kim Jeanette. She's an amazing person, and she talks about her interesting new methods that she has for selling her stories to reporters and actually storytelling, and how she took one news release and turned it into an entire news cycle by getting people like Elon Musk and Sam Altman from AI fame interested in her story. So that's up there now, and it's episode 129 of Tales from the Beat. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, everywhere that you get podcasts.
By the way, guys, I listen to Tales from the Beat by Ed Garsten over on Spotify where you can find it. Ed, it is great to have you back. Go have the best of weekends, my friend.